Okay, Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back. Today we're going to continue the second chapter of Hilkhot Yesodei HaTorah. It's a little bit going to be more esoteric, on the verge of Kabbalistic. All right? Let's start with we'll start from the beginning of the chapter, even though the first two halachot we already read last week, right? Ha'el ha'nichbad ve'hanora hazeh, right? This glorious God, מצווה לאהבו ולירא ממנו, שנאמר ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך, ונאמר את אדוני אלוהיך תירא. Right? We have two mitzvot, right? One mitzvah is to love God, one mitzvah is to fear God. All right? And he brings the supporting pesukim, ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך, you have to love God. You must have fear of God. We are the first halakha in chapter 2. Look for a big aleph. Because the pages, it starts with the last few halachot of chapter 1, and then you found it? All right, excellent. How do you accomplish this mitzvah of loving God? When a person investigates, observes, right, God's creations, then he's able to see his infinite wisdom in creation. And first of all, it ignites this want to investigate further, to get closer to God. And as we summarized in last week's class, al pi hade'ah hi ha'ahava, right? In accordance to your knowledge and your understanding is your love for God. Im me'at, me'at, ve'im harbe, harbe, right? If you have a superficial understanding of God, you'll have a very superficial relationship and connection to God. If you have a profound and deep understanding of God and how He works and how He created this universe and how He guides this universe, you have an even more profound and deep understanding of God, and you'll love Him more, and you will also fear Him more. The more you understand the infinite wisdom that goes into this universe, the more you'll see how lowly you are by comparison. All right, מיד הוא אוהב ומשבח ומפאר ומתאווה תאווה גדולה לידע השם הגדול. כמו שאמר דוד, שמאה נפשי לאלוהים לאל חי. As David says, my soul has a thirst for this living God. It says, ולפי הדברים האלו אני מבאר כללים גדולים ממעשה ריבון העולמים. And in accordance to this general rule, I'm going to just open your appetite a bit. Last week we brought excerpts from the lecture on the rainbow. Today we're going to go a little bit into the esoteric knowledge that the Rambam presents us. כדי שיהיו פתח למבין לאהוב את השם. So those who understand will have some sort of opening into this mitzvah of getting to love God. Because if you have zero understanding, you'll have zero curiosity, zero interest. So he says, let me just light this little spark that you can later on go and develop from there onwards yourself. שמתוך כך אתה מכיר, כמו שאמרו חכמים, as the חכמים say בעניין אהבה, with regards to the mitzvah of אהבה, שמתוך כך אתה מכיר את מי שאמר והיה העולם, right? Through this you get to know He who created the world. אז כל מה שברא הקדוש ברוך הוא בעולמו נחלק לשלושה חלקים. This is all of creation is divided into three. מהם ברואים שהם מחוברים מגולם וסורה, והם הווים ונפסדים תמיד. Right? One category are those creations that have a physical form, and they also have an essence, some sort of essential property to them, which is, call it more intellectual. And these things that have a physical form, their physical form, they come into existence, they go out of existence, like human beings, like plants, like animals, like wood, rocks, right? They're formed and they go back to their elements at some point in time. כמו גופות האדם והבהמה והצמחים והמתכות, right? Like the physical form of the animals and man and vegetables and metals. ומהם, another category, ברואים שהם מחוברים מגולם וסורה, אבל אינם משתנים מגוף לגוף ומסורה לסורה כמו הראשונים. A second category is also they're made up of physical form, and they also have some sort of essential property to them, a surah, an essence to them. However, they don't break down to their elements at some point in time. Ela suratan kivu'a le'olam begulmam. However, their essence or intellect is always tied into the physical form. Ve'enan mishtanim kemo elu, and their physical form never changes and doesn't die. Ve'em hagalgalim ve'akochavim shebahem. These are the planets and the galaxies and the stars. Ve'en gulmam kish'ar ginamim ve'lo suratam kish'ar surot. And their physical properties aren't the same as that we know down here on Earth. They're made of different elements. All right. Today we know this isn't the case. All right. So really, we're left with the first, everything that he described here in the second category of creations is really just like the first, just that they have much longer lifespans. Because we know stars are born and stars die. Umehen, and this is the third category, and this is the category that we're going to dive more into in this chapter. Umehen beruim surah belo golem kelal. You have a category of creations that they have no physical form. They are a pure intellect. They are an intellectual being that has no body and no physical form. Vehem, and these are the malachim, the angels. Well, let's not use the word angels, the malachim. I don't want you to think of angels the way the Christians think of angels. Malachim, intellectual beings that have no physical form. Shamalachim enam guf ugvia. They have no physical form. Ela surot nifradot zo mizo. They are intellects that are separated one from another. Why do we say that they have no physical form? Right? The Nevi'im have testify in the Tanakh to seeing angels with wings and their bodies are made of fire. How could you say they have no physical form? All these visions that they have of the Malachim is all in a prophetic vision. And it's all an allegory. It comes to symbolize something about the Malach. What does it mean that an angel has wings? It means that he's very light. It means he has no mass. That's what they're trying to say when they say they saw an angel with wings or an angel made of fire. What does it mean, an angel made of fire? Fire is always going up, right? It's light. So that's what they saw when they saw an angel, a massless being. The way their mind interpreted to them in the vision is that it's made of fire and it floats in the air with wings. כמו שאמר, Ki Adonai Elohecha esh ochelahu. As it says, referring God himself, God is a burning fire. Ve'eno esh, ela mashal. And God is not made of fire. This is just an allegory. Emar, as it says, same too regarding the malachim, Oseh malachav ruchot, misharetav eshlohet. Right, he makes his servants winds, he makes his angels winds, right? Malachav ruchot, misharetav, and his servants a burning fire. Ubamai paredu hasurot zo mizo v'hare enan gufim. Says in the first chapter, in chapter 1, how do we say that God has no physical form, that there could only be one God? We said because he is an infinite being and his power is infinite. I'm not going to go through that whole, it's a whole class to go through that whole concept, but if he's an infinite being, we say that on his plane of existence, there can't be any other being. Therefore, we know he has no physical form. It says, but now, in chapter 2, you're telling me that the malachim, that there are many of, have no physical form. So then how can you differentiate between them if they have no physical form? So what we said in chapter 1, we said, it says, She'en hanimnin hashavin b'mtziutan, all the beings that are in the same level of existence, right? They can only be differentiated. En hanimnin hashavin b'mtziutan nifradin ze mize. They can only be differentiated one from another. Ella b'me'ora'in she'yir'u hagufot v'hagviot, right? Only by the events or descriptions that are associated with physical form. But now you're telling me that the angels are intellects with no physical form. How can that be? How could there be more than one? And there already is this one being that occupies all of infinity. Any ideas?
Different kind of angels, maybe.
Okay. What does that mean?
Like angels that can come into physical existence, and maybe some of them cannot.
But how does that solve the problem? The problem is, you told me in chapter 1, and you sold me on this idea that God is one because, and there could only be one because he has no physical form. There can't possibly be anything else, right, that has no physical form, because there can only be one, and that's God. So how are you telling me now that there's angels and they have no physical form?
Different states of existence, or different planes of existence.
Okay. Right? They're not equal in their existence. Each one of them is below the level of the one preceding him. What does that mean? Right? When we're talking about creation, right? In not the previous lecture, the one before, we said our model of creation is different than that of the philosophers. How? Said God isn't like a carpenter who built a table and there's like no more relation. What's the relation between God and his creation? It says it's as if his creation is like in his mind, like an imagination, right? And we said there are different levels of reality. It says, well, this is the different levels of reality. There are many different levels of reality. Each one is brought to life or exists from the level above it. Meaning, think of an imagination inside an imagination, right? Harry Potter's thinking of something, right? So you're thinking of Harry Potter, and Harry Potter's thinking of something. Different, three different levels here.
God created like in forest for other creation.
Before
Other creation.
So it would seem, yeah, according to some of the midrashim, the angels were created on the first day of creation. Some midrashim put them further down, just so that you don't think they existed at the same time as God. Right? Each one is below the level of his friend or his the one above him. And he exists from his energy, his force. Right? One above the other. And this whole system, right? All of these angels, right? You have one that's living because of another one. One's like the imagination, of another one, which is the imagination of another one, which is the imagination of another one. And on top of all of this, והכל נמצאים מכוחו של הקדוש ברוך הוא וטובו. And they all exist from God is the source of all of this chain of existence. Right? It says from God's koho, from his force or his energy, vetuvo, and his graciousness. And I think this over here is already a hint to the whole concept of divine providence. V'zeu she'amar Shlomo b'chokhmato, and this is what Shlomo HaMelech is alluding to when he says, Ki gaboa me'al gaboa shomer. Right? High above, high is he's raised up above those that are raised above. Shomer. He's providing for them, providing for everything. Everything that comes after is all from him. זה שאמרנו למטה ממעלתו של חברו אינו מעלת מקום. Right, this that we say one is below the other, don't think that one is below the other one in space, meaning one is like sitting above another. There is no space in these realms. There's no time either.
Question. That being said, we know there are different realms, right? We're defining different realms, and we know inside the Beit HaMikdash there was the Holy of Holies, right? That's where the Shekhinah would come, and that's where it was, right? So would you say in every single different level there's a similar, vessel or area that Hashem comes down with the Shekhinah specifically?
So, what is the Shekhinah?
His not his form, but his Shekhinah.
The earliest mention of Shekhinah as a being, as opposed to in the Torah, which just says Shachanti Betocham, and I will dwell among them. The Shekhinah as a being was kind of like an invention of Onkelos, one of the early translations of the Torah. And it was a way, it's like, it's this created presence, sort of this light, this created light, just so that people can, says it's just to make it easier for you to perceive God dwelling in a place, in the earth.
So it's not necessarily a creation of Hashem. It's like we made it up so we could understand.
Right.
So
there is a hierarchy of holy places. The holiest of them being the Kodesh Kodashim. Right? Most of these holy places are on Temple Mount or in Jerusalem. But what does this Kiddusha mean?
Why do we even need the Kodesh if it's just a representation of where he would be for us?
That's a good question, but it's a completely different topic.
Okay. So basically the answer is it's probably not, that specific, Kodashim wouldn't be necessary for other levels. It's mostly like a human.
It's, everything in the Torah is for us humans. The Torah was given to us humans as humans. The Malachim don't occupy any space. Meaning, you could just as well say they occupy all space. They're non-local beings.
These Malachim, they live, if they're not physical, do they live outside time and space? Like we do? So when they come into physical existence, they come into time and space? That's a weird thought.
So, according to Maimonides, they don't come into physical existence. Right? Which is maybe makes it very difficult to understand the Pirashah where the Malachim come to visit Abraham. That's one thing. That whole Pirashah, by the way, where they're talking to Abraham, it starts off God appeared to Abraham in Elonei Mamre, and what was the vision in which God appeared to Abraham? It says Vayisa'ina Vayar, and Abraham, he saw, and behold, 3 figures are standing on top of him, right? So over there, it's already in the Peshat that this is a prophetic vision, and that they aren't actually visiting him in physical reality, but they're visiting him in his intellectual reality.
That's why you could say the angel in the time of Egypt, he killed all the firstborn of Egypt, right?
Right. There was no actual angel going around house to house, right? Yeah.
He didn't have time.
They may have all just dropped dead at the same time. But then how do you explain the angels that came to Lot? Because that whole story is actually something that happened, and so that's already that's a challenge to the Rambam's. With Yaakov, you could still say over there it was a prophetic vision. With Lot, it's a bit difficult to interpret that as a prophetic vision, but with Yaakov, there's also a prophetic vision. Yes.
What about the story? I'm not sure whether in Midrash it says the angels, some came down to the earth and have relationship with beautiful women, and they.
All right, so that's a Christian understanding of the Pesukim. Because it doesn't say angels, it says Bnei Elohim, the sons of God.
So who are they?
And the question is, what is Elohim? Elohim in Hebrew doesn't mean God. God is referred to as Elohim.
So
Elohim means authority. It means, by the way, the Targum over there, and also Rashi, says Bnei Elohim is talking about the princes, the people of power. It's humans over there.
But over there also, Malachim could be like just messengers, right? Like,
yes.
That doesn't need to
So even Malachim, that there could be many different. When the word Malach is mentioned in the Torah, it could mean like I think the Rambam brings 11 different possible meanings for Malach. A Navi, a prophet, is called a Malach. A messenger is called a Malach. Sometimes it's not even talking about like a righteous person. It says Veishlach Malachim lefanav. He sent messengers, just messengers, emissaries.
I don't know. So one thing, for example, I don't know. I don't know. But for example, it's we're talking. We used to like mention like non-locality. Of course, not like Deepak Chopra's non-locality, right? It's just like a metaphor.
Sorry, it's not like
Deepak Chopra's non-locality. You know when he's trying to use like quantum language on these like temporal realms. It's more like it's reachable for us, right? All of this like. Like the Shekhinah, for example.
Reachable how and where?
Like it's reachable in the sense of from a metaphoric. I don't know if you know Wittgenstein. Like for example, like we make the thing that we use, like for example, like a language, we use it to create. Wittgenstein used to say that I know as much as I can like. Talk, speak, express myself, right?
Yeah.
So at the end, of course, not Lashon HaKodesh, but Lashon HaKodesh is not from us. It's not a human creation.
But even any other Lashon, you're talking about in
what
concept.
I'm saying is just a metaphor. It's we're unable to reach like the Shekhinah,
many
or
of the
a little bit.
say, one way of understanding what a malach is, you're talking about a concept or an intellect that has no physical form. One way to understand that in today's vocabulary would be an abstract idea.
Yes.
What is mercy?
Yeah.
What is love? What is, but this is a big problem. This, I think, is one of the issues with Avodah Zarah, where they make images and they make statues that come to symbolize some sort of idea, the god of fertility, right? And they make this statue. What are they doing? They're taking something that it's an abstract concept. It can manifest itself in a million different ways in our lives. And they are building an image which is now defining the limit and the scope of what fertility is, instead of leaving it in the realm of the abstract.
Same for non-locality. For example, we could even start creating non-locality entities, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. An idea that you have is a non-local entity. Where does it exist? It exists in the intellectual realm, not in the physical realm. It's not, we say one is above the other. He's not sitting physically above him. He's, right, but it's more like what we say in two different sages and wise men, that one of them is, right, his wisdom is above the wisdom of another. It's not that he's physically above it, it's just greater, or it covers more. Shehad gadol mechavero, one is greater than the other one in wisdom, b'chokmah, shul lemala mima'alato shelezeh, that he is above his level. Moshe omrim ba'ila shehi lemala min ha'alul. And as we say regarding in the chain of causality, you have the cause and the effect. How the cause is above the effect; it's not physically above it. And it didn't necessarily exist before it, but it's the cause of it. Its reality is higher than the reality of the effect. So this is the idea of different realities. All right. When I was first studying this with my teacher, the way the allegory he gave to me is, think of like a big basin of water, and it fills up, right? And then it overflows. And when it overflows, it fills up the next basin. And when that one fills up and it overflows, it fills up the next one, right? This water is the life energy that's coming from the primary being, the source. And it fills up the first level, which you see is the Hayot HaKodesh, right? There's 10 levels of Malachim, right? The first one is the Hayot, the next one is the Ofanim, and then there's the Erenim, and it fills up one after the other, until it gets to the last one, or the lowliest one, right? Which is the Ishim, right? Shinui Shemot HaMalachim Al Shem Ma'alatam, right? The difference in the names of the Malachim has to do with their levels. Each one's on a different level. The highest one is the Hayot HaKodesh, Vehem Lema'ala Min HaKol, and under them is the Ofanim, the Erenim, the Hashmalim, the Serafim, the Malachim, the Elohim, Uvnei Elohim, Uchruvim, the Ishim. The last two ones is the Keruvim. The one below that is the Ishim. Ishim, what does it sound like? Ish. Is it people?
No,
Huh? No, that would be Nashim. Nashi, that would be Nashi, right.
Hey, Rabbi, excuse my ignorance here. Which was did we ascend or descend with the levels from top
We went from top to bottom.
Okay, thanks.
The lowest one is called the Ishim. The highest one is called Hayot. It says, כל אלו עשרה השמות שנקראו בהם המלאכים על שם 10 מעלות שלהן. Right, all these 10 levels, all these 10 names are the 10 levels. By the way, this is described in Yehezkel. This is the Merkavah that he sees. ומעלה שאין למעלה ממנה, and the highest level, that there is no level higher than it, other than אלא מעלת האל ברוך הוא, right, other than God himself. He has surah shenikred hayot. Those are the ones that are referred to as hayot, the hayot HaKodesh. We see the 4 beasts, right? That's the highest level of malachim. Again, they don't really have 4 faces. Not each face really looks like a different animal. It's all trying to allude to something. Each thing, each word in the Merkavah and Yehezkel is an allegory for something.
One of the names of God is Elohim.
Right. Even here, so you have Elohim and Bnei Elohim, right? Elohim, we see it has different meanings to it. Sometimes Elohim could be referring to an angel. Sometimes it could be referring to God himself. Sometimes it could be referring to people. And sometimes not even such great people.
Also here mentioned Bnei Elohim.
Right. Go back to your question, yeah.
And they're people.
Here,
Bnei Elohim, they're people.
This is a level of malachim. All these this list that we just read are different levels of malachim.
So actually,
all of them are non-humans.
Bnei Elohim
is also a level of humans. Right, yes.
So the birds, how do you explain it? So, Bnei Elohim,
so even over there, because Elohim doesn't necessarily mean an angel or God. It could also be talking about people. How do I explain it over there is Elohim, Parashat Bereshit details 2 different lineages, right? You have those coming from Shet, and you have those coming from Cain. 2 different lineages, right? The powerful ones was the lineage of Cain. And those were the Elohim. Those were the ones that had the power and the strength. And their sons, or everyone from their lineage, was the Bnei Elohim. It says, Vayiru Bnei Elohim et benot ha'adam, and they saw the daughters of man. Yeah. Man's segula, meaning Adam's segula, his lineage went through Shed. Shed had Senem Elohim. We'll see in our next chapter, next classes on Senem Elohim, the image of God. Right? Not everyone has Senem Elohim, but Shed's descendants did. And they saw Shed's descendants, and they took women from his lineage. But he took them forcefully. It says, anyone they wanted, they went, and they forcefully took whoever they wanted.
And what about Ishim?
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. ומעלה שאין למעלה ממנה, מעלת החיות. לפיכך נאמר בתורה, בנבואה, שהן תחת כיסא הכבוד. That's why it says that the hayot are the ones who are under the God's throne, right? Because they are they are the highest level before God. ומעלה עשירית, היא מעלת הסורה שנקראת אישים. And the 10th level, the lowest level, is that's called Ishim. והם המלאכים המדברים עם הנביאים ונראים להם במראה הנבואה. Says, and these are the angels that speak to the prophets, that the prophets see when they prophesy. לפיכך נקראו אישים. That's why they're called אישים. שמעלתם קרובה למעלת דעת האדם. Their level is the closest level to that of man's intellect.
Is it like Michael and Gabriel? The angel that Malachi name.
But then, what does Michael and Gabriel fit here in this list? Huh? It's not. It's a whole different category of the term malach. Remember, malach could also refer to as prophets, could also refer to as forces of nature. There's 11 different types, right? Meaning 11 different meanings to the word malach. Right now, we're going to focus on the ones that is different levels of reality. What you're talking about is malachim that the prophets see. Even that, there is no malach named Gabriel and Michael. It's different concepts that we call Gabriel. For instance, the Chachamim usually when they say Gabriel, evoke the name Gabriel, they're talking about something that's going to unfold in history. So even those are abstract concepts. What does it mean that out of the three that came to see Abraham, they say one of them was Raphael? What is Raphael? Because it says he was sick, so he came to cure him. Right? Did he actually see a malach named Raphael? Raphael is the force of medicine. It's switching modes of thinking now, right? You can't picture a winged being named Raphael, right, coming and shooting you with health, right?
So the name is not really referred to an entity, but a concept.
Yes. Gabriel means Givura, comes from the word Givura. Raphael comes from Refuah.
Michael?
Good question. Michael, they say Michael is the star of. He's like the ideas of Judaism, in a way.
Who is like that? Like the question. Who is like
By the way, many times when the Torah is talking about a person, it says V'ha'ish Moshe. What is ha'ish? Right? V'yehapech le'ish acher. When it talks about a navi, v'yehapech, he turns into an ish. What does it mean? It's because he's talking to the ishim. Right? Ish, not everyone in Tanakh is referred to as an ish. There's only someone who reached that level of prophecy is referred to as ish. Why? Because he can communicate with the ishim.
Oh, they say every single one has a malachim. Is that?
You're going to have to now reread everything from the beginning with this understanding, all right? וכל הסורות האלו חיים ומכירים את הבורא ויודעים אותו דעה גדולה עד מאוד. Every single one of these levels, חיים, right? They live and they know the Creator, דעה גדולה עד מאוד, with a great and deep understanding. כל סורה וסורה לפי מעלתה. Again, לא לפי גודלו. Every single of these levels in accordance to its level, not accordance to its size. They don't have any size. All right, we see even here, it says, Hayim umekirim. They live and they know the Creator. It says, Hayim is makirim. Your knowledge is life. Their life is their knowledge. אפילו מעלה ראשונה אינה יכולה להשיג אמיתת הבורא כמו שהיא, right? Even the highest level, the Hayot HaKodesh, they are too limited in their understanding to understand God as He is. Remember last week we spoke about Moshe being too limited. It says even the highest level of the Malachim is too limited to understand God fully, wholly. Right? It's too limited. אבל משגת ויודעת יותר ממה שמשגת ויודעת סורה שלמדת ממנה. It knows more than the level below it. Remember, we're going through that water. All the waters in the level below it came through the previous one. right? It knows what it received and what flowed onwards. By the way, this is in Hebrew we call this shefa. Ever hear the term shefa? The overflow of God, overflow of blessing from God. This is shefa. וכן כל מעלה ומעלה עד מעלה עשירית גם היא יודעת הבורא דעה שאין כוח בני האדם המחוברים מגולם וסורה יכול להשיג ולידע כמותה. And every level, even the lowest level, has a knowledge of God that is beyond man's understanding. והכל אינן יודעים הבורא כמו שהוא יודע עצמו. And all of them, right, they don't know God as God knows himself. Right? All that came from God is knowledge that comes from God, and all of their knowledge is external to them. They received it from someone. Right? God knows himself. Everyone knows themselves and what's below them. But they're too limited to understand what's above them. כל הנמצאים חוץ מן הבורא, right? All beings in existence other than God himself, מצורה הראשונה, from the hayot, the highest level, עד יתוש קטן שיהיה בטבור הארץ, right? To a lowly mosquito inhabiting the dirt of the land, right? Hakol mikoach amiton imsau. They all exist from his life force, from his force that he flows outwards. Ulfi shu yodea asmo, and since he knows himself perfectly, umekir gedulato v'tifarto v'amito, and he knows all of the knowledge that came from him and his greatness, right, and his truthness. We said different levels of truth, different levels of reality. Since he knows his level and all of his knowledge, hu yodea hakol, he knows everything. Ve'en davar ne'ena mimenu, and nothing, right, is hidden from him, because it all exists from him. It's all his knowledge, or all part of his knowledge. HaKadosh Baruch Hu makir amito. He knows his reality. V'yodea ota kemo shehi. He knows it as it is perfectly. Ve'eno yodea b'dea shehus mimenu kemo she'anu yodin. And his knowledge of himself isn't an external knowledge the way we acquire knowledge. Our knowledge comes from observing, right? Observing and learning and acquiring knowledge, or receiving it from the higher levels of intellects of existence. It says God's knowledge isn't external to him. It's categorically different. And we're going to get back to this idea when we start talking about divine providence and free will. God's knowledge is categorically different, not just in our knowledge, but all other knowledge in the universe. Right? That's not external to him. Like us. For our knowledge and our being is not one. It's not a united entity. There is us, and then there's the knowledge that we acquire. Right? But God, the Creator, blessed be He, Yitbarachu v'da'ato, him and his knowledge, v'hayav, and his life, echad, it is one, it is united, it's one thing. Mikol sad, u'mikol pina, u'bechol derech yichud. It is the absolute one, it's the absolute unity. We, as beings that are separated from our knowledge, or we could have life and not have life. We see life and knowledge and ourselves as separate entities. With God, it is all one. His knowledge is life, is existence. By that's if we go back to what we started this chapter with last week, right? Mizvah ahava, we say al pi ha'de'ah hi ahava, in accordance to your knowledge and understanding is your love. Love, knowledge, life, it's all really one thing. It's this one thing that God is emitting and passing through this whole system until it reaches man and really all of existence. Right? So if God, he had life that was external to him, and he had knowledge that was external to him, then there'd be many entities, many divine entities, or godly entities. Who would be him, the Hayab, his life, the Da'ato, and his knowledge. It'd be separated things. Then ad-davar ken, ela ehad bekol sad umikol pina uvchol derech yichud. We've already established that there cannot be any multiplicity in the primary being. That means he can't be separated. His being cannot be separated from his life and cannot be separated from his knowledge. All these things are really one and the same. Nimseta omer, so you can say, Hu hayodea, vehu hayadua, vehu hadea asma. He is the one that knows, right? He is the known, what is known. When you study and you acquire knowledge, you're acquiring knowledge of God, right? And God, he knows all the knowledge. And so he is the knower. He is the thing that he is knowing, and he is the knowledge itself. It's one thing. What's the difference between them? One's the object, one's the active, one's the passive. With God, there is no differentiation. That's why, as the philosophers and Maimonides agrees with them, they say God, he can't switch, he doesn't switch between actively doing something to potentially doing something. Anything he does, he is constant. He's always doing it. Right? So God doesn't create once upon a time. God's the creator. He's constantly creating.
Exactly opposite of like what we see in our world. Like we have potential energy and the kinetic energy, stuff like that.
Right.
And it's like, oh, you can have one or the other, right? Move in balance, but Hashem can have everything at all times.
You can be a writer, but not writing right now.
Yeah.
Right? You're a potential writer, but until you actually write, or while you're not writing, you're a potential writer. When you're writing, you're an actual writer. God is a creator. He's always a creator. He doesn't switch between creating.
It's outside the frame of time.
Right. Exactly. That's why he doesn't switch between potential and actual.
Which also brings a weird question of why he rested on the seventh day. Because it's clear that he didn't need to rest on the seventh day.
Mm-hmm.
And resting to him is not really resting because he's in a continuous energy of creation, right? He's like Shabbat, it's like, oh, it's keeping us, it's very odd, the idea. I think we just maybe
that's an excellent point.
Maybe we just can't grasp
and investigating that point will lead you to some very deep understandings about creation.
It's always been distorted.
I actually believe that all 7 days of creation is really also just one day.
One moment.
How does it end? Right after the 7 days of creation, it says, "B'yom asot Elohim shamayim va'aretz." Right, says, "Elle toledot hashamayim va'aretz." But this is what's a toledot? Is how creation unfolded, right? "Elle toledot hashamayim va'aretz behibare'am," as they were created. Beyom asot Hashem Elohim eretz v'shamayim. On the day that God created the heavens and earth.
I mean, it makes that.
So all 7 days is really what?
Exactly.
So what is a day?
Exactly. So because it doesn't make sense that there's a take that Hashem made the earth and the water and then the animals and then just the vegetation just to prepare the world for humans. But at the same time, he doesn't need to prepare anything. He knows how everything's going to work out. He can create a perfect environment. So it makes sense that it's all that one.
Or maybe he did create a perfect environment. We just didn't get there yet.
Right. That makes no sense. Other than he's just preparing it.
So what does that mean?
We don't exist in
Well,
time. Maybe time's not a thing. It's a moment.
The 7th day hasn't ended yet.
So we're always in Shabbos.
All right. I'm not sure. I think we might have. Never mind. We'll get. It's a whole other course. Right? He is the knower, he is the known, and he is knowledge itself. It is all one. Right? Language is too limited to articulate this idea properly. Our understanding is too limited to fully grasp this. And that's why it says, right? The life of Paro, the life of your soul. And you don't say the life of God, the living God. Right? Because he's not separated from his life. They're not two different things. Right? As the living people, or even the malachim who receive their life external to them, from the level above them, from the level above them, from ultimately the source of life, which is the primary being, God Himself, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. לפיכך אינו מכיר הבירואים ויודעם מחמת הבירואים כמו שאנו יודעים אותם. That's why his knowledge of all the creations isn't because of the beings themselves, right? By studying the beings, right? But he knows them. יודע מחמת הבירואים כמו שאנו יודעים. That's how we learn about creation, by studying creation and acquiring the knowledge. אלא מחמת עצמו ידעם. He knows them by knowing himself. לפיכך, מפני שהוא יודע עצמו, because he knows himself, יודע הכל, שהכל נסמך בהווייתו לו. Because he knows himself, he knows everything, because everything's existence is dependent on him, on his knowledge of that thing. Otherwise, it couldn't exist. דברים אלו שאמרנו בעניין זה, בשני פרקים אלו. These topics that we have discussed in these past 2 chapters, כמו טיפה מן הים הם ממה שצריך לבאר בעניין זה. Right, this understanding of all the waters coming from God down to the Ishim, down overflowing into man. All this is just, what we touched upon here is just one drop out of the sea of what there is to learn about this. ממה שצריך לבאר בעניין זה, וביאור כל העיקרים שבשני פרקים אלו, הוא הנקרא מעשה מרכבה. But to really study these 2 chapters from understanding the existence of God, the unity of God, all the way to understanding this whole mechanism and how Shefa comes down to our world through the 10 different levels of the Malachim, all this is under the title Ma'aseh Merkava, the chariots of Yehezkel. How many chapters do you have dedicated to that in the Tanakh? That 1, maybe 2. So this is just a drop out of the sea of what can be understood, right? But that would just be the perfection of human intellect, which is in itself limited, because above human intellect, we have the intellect of the Ishim, which is also limited. It's limited by the one above it, the Kiruvim. All right? The Kiruvim and the Ishim, by the way, are those that are guarding the way, the path back to the tree of life. We'll have a class about that a little bit further down the line. So there's a whole sea of what we can understand, and that's just one drop out of all the knowledge that is beyond our ability to understand. ציוו חכמים הראשונים שלא לדרוש בדברים אלו אלא לאיש אחד בלבד. The Chachamim instructed not to teach Ma'aseh Merkava to a public, only to one-on-one. It says lidrosh is actually to give a dirash on it, one to another. There's a master and his disciple. Vehu, and this is conditioned, sheyeh hacham umevin mida'ato, that he is wise and he's able to understand things on his own. Ve'achar kach musrim lo rasheh hapirakim, and then you just tell the student like a subtitle, and he needs to develop the entire idea himself. You just hint to one little thing. And he's able to fill in, investigate, and meditate on his own and figure it out himself. Why? By the way, what's the Rambam telling us here about the whole concept of Sitrei Torah? Right? There is no Sitrei Torah. You can't write it. You can't articulate it. You can only hint to something, and it's even there. It's lidrosh. It's not to give him the idea. It's to give him a direction to go to develop the idea himself. So Sitrei Torah is very, very individual. Yeah, the hidden aspects of the Torah.
So it's very subjective.
It is very subjective. It is absolutely.
It's valid, all that.
If it's within the Ikarim, right? You have boundaries that you shouldn't go past. Once you have the fundamentals down, right? As long as you're in there, you can go and roam around freely.
Is it connected to Kabbalah?
This is what Kabbalah is. Sitrei Torah is the hidden aspects of the Torah. Where is it all written? It's written in the Torah. If you learn how to decode the Torah, you'll uncover a lot of the hidden aspects of the Torah. And nobody can formulate it for you. It's like, teach me how to be in love. Can you? Or is it something you need to experience to really know what it is? Explain it to me.
Explain it. How it tastes.
Yeah. Describe the color red. Describe the color red to me.
Are we that medium for Hashem? Like, you can't explain what love is. You can't explain red. And maybe there's some things that Hashem needs us to give him that ability. We're his medium. You know what I mean? It's kind of a difficult idea. It's like a human experience.
You're already venturing out of the boundaries.
It's like a weird idea. Like, he doesn't have a human existence, so we are that medium to provide him a human existence.
So you're saying God needs us?
God certainly needs us.
In order to know all the knowledge that he's the source of.
Well, it's like the paradox. It's like if it's like it's like we're in a dream, but what if we're also conscious of the dreamer, right? So both can exist at the same time, but in different planes. So it's like, which is real? You know, we're both real, but one doesn't exist without the other.
So God is the one that enabled you
Yeah,
to experience the world.
right.
Meaning God already knows what this worldly experience is, because it's Him.
Yeah. But not through a human experience,
But He defined what human experience is.
but didn't experience it.
If you're experiencing it,
He's experiencing.
right, but He doesn't need you to experience it. He's allowing you to experience it. He's enabling you to experience it.
But
Yes.
maybe He wants to experience it in real time. In like
There is no real time.
There is no real time, but maybe our existence gives Him existence.
You're going out of bounds here.
Sandy, without entering the debate,
Yeah.
I only read a few sources. So it had to either be Mishnah, which maybe it wasn't, or Chabad, because that's something else that I read before. And it said something exactly like what he was saying, in that it said that
It could be
one of the
Chabad.
reasons Hashem created this,
Some things that Chabad
It's a
say
spirit.
can lead you out of bounds if you misunderstand them. Even apparently, what I said in this class can lead you
No,
out of
I agree.
bounds. if you
I agree.
misunderstand. Yes.
The Kuzari brings a lot of like good boundaries to if you want to like get into I don't know I'm just like go ahead.
Later on, he gets into a little bit more of the
It's very it
esoteric
gives
stuff.
like a set of boundaries, very defined, very clear, very it's an amazing.
It's very easy to go out of bounds, right? When studying these difficult, subtle topics. That's why the Hachamim restricted it to only those who are very wise and able to develop an idea themselves. And even then, to teach it only one-on-one. By the way, back to what you were asking, is very individual. We have a beracha that we say when you see a congregation of the entire nation of 600,000 people. You familiar with the beracha?
Yeah.
What's the beracha?
No, I don't know in my heart, but
so what's the beracha? Hacham Harazim says, Hacham is the wise, right? God, you say He's the wise. What's so wise about that? He knows every individual secret. Every person has his own Torah Sod. And it's up to every person to uncover his own Torah Sod, his Sitterei Torah. And the Rambam, what's his great philosophical work? What's it called?
The Guide of the Perplexed.
The Guide for the Perplexed. By the way, in the original Arabic, Dalalat al-Hirin, it means signposts for the perplexed. Right? He's saying there are the bounds. There's the pardes, right? And I'm just going to point you in a certain direction, but you have to march it and figure it out yourself. The Rambam doesn't teach you what to think as much as he teaches you how to think. He says, if you feel that you're ready to march into this guy, into the perplex, into the pardes, right? I'm going to point you, I'm going to give you some pointers.
You can't be told.
I'm going to give you you can't be told. You can't be told because the nature of this knowledge can't be articulated. You have to figure it out on your own. It can't be passed down. I can only throw you in a certain direction.
Pieces.
By the way,
It's like learning a language. You can't be told how to learn a language. You experience
You have to
learning,
experience
and then
it.
you become fluent.
by the way, what's it called when even here when a teacher is teaching his student, right? He doesn't teach him the knowledge. What he says to the student is marseh lefanav. It's the student who needs to now come and express the ideas to the teacher. All right? It's not the teacher who gives him the ideas. The teacher gives him a title, and the student needs to come to the teacher. It says marseh lefanav. What is marseh? Marseh is a technical term. It means someone who comes to the coin checker to check the validity and the authenticity of his coin. He says he's just coming to his teacher so his teacher can make sure that he didn't go out of bounds. He says, come, start explaining to me what you developed. All right, he says, you got to be careful over here. Over here, you're kind of going off the way. Over here, you have a beautiful idea. Go and further develop it. Even the teacher himself of Sitrei Torah is just guiding him or helping him guide himself through this pardes. These are very, very deep things and ideas. Not everyone can handle it. And regarding this, Shlomo said, "Kevasim lilbushecha." It should be as lambs for your garments. What does that mean? So כך אמרו חכמים בפירוש משל זה. The Chachamim, when they came to explain this allegory, they said, "דברים שהם כבשונו של עולם יהיו ללבושך." Things that are keves sounds like kibshan. Kibshan is the furnace, right? Kibshono shel olam, things that are so high in esoteric should be for your garments. What does that mean? Kelomar, lecha levadecha. These ideas that you develop are for you. As you said, it's individual, it's subjective, and it's individual. Everyone has their own. And don't go around trying to teach it in public. Right? This is only for you, and it's not for the stranger that's with you. He also says, Devash v'chalav in Shir Hashirim, right? Like honey and milk under your tongue. What does that mean? Kach pirshu chachamim devarim shem kidvash v'chalav, things that are sweet, right? Like honey and milk. You tachat l'shonech, keep it under your tongue. And this is kind of like the source of the statement where they say those who know, right, are quiet. Those who are out speaking, teaching Kabbalah, speaking, right, the Sitrei Torah, it's because they don't know. This kind of knowledge, this topic, can only be discovered by yourself. Once you have the fundamentals set, and we'll see also as we progress to the next, in the fourth chapter, right? Another baseline that you need is to master halakha. You need to master halakha. You need to ground yourself in reality. My favorite Kabbalists, by the way, are people who also usually have good understanding of physics and science. You need to have someone who's properly grounded before you go venturing off into the esoterics.
Rav Eliezer Melamed, it's for halacha, and at the same time, grasping this like milk and honey. It's just
Right. All right, that's the end of the second chapter.
Who's your favorite Kabbalist?
I have a few, but they're Kabbalists that have like nice interpretation to the Torah. Some of them are people that I've met and known. There's others that someone who has a lot of great books, like love Aryeh Kaplan.
Aryeh Kaplan is amazing.
Right? If someone's not also a physicist and well grounded in halakha, I won't really trust his writings on Kabbalah.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Hey.
Teach him a little physics too.
Nice. Any questions?
Yeah.
Wait, quick question. So this tradition of teaching one-on-one, start from when? Not Moshe, right?
It's this is a Mishnah that's brought, but how far back does it go? It could be that it went very, very far back. We'll see. We'll see in the fourth chapter. He's saying even physics and science, you should be teaching one-on-one. It just doesn't require someone on the same intellectual level that he can figure everything out on his own. Right? But today you have academies that teach. They give quantum mechanic lectures to an audience of 100 people. But this is still, this you can't really teach to a public because it's very, very individual. Chacham harazim, it's your raz. I can't digest and process food for you. It won't taste the same.
Because in Babylonia, they have a yeshiva there, right?
Yeah, but
they
were studying halakha. That was halakha though. Mishnah, that's what in Talmud, once the Talmud was published.
You think Hashem gave us the ability to understand his level of existence, or he purposely left it so it would be a challenge for us, but never fully able to be?
Purposely, it's just the nature of any intellect that comes after him. It's limited.
It's impossible.
And our intellect is most limited out of those with intellect, right? Just because we're physical beings. We're limited in our perception. Anyone else?
I mean, he gave us the Torah so we can sort of connect with him and bring him into our physical world. But he never really gave us anything to show us that he really wants us to understand like his level of existence, right? So maybe it's not a necessary need for us.
His level of existence is beyond our perception.
Right. So I think that being said,
the Malachim's level of existence is beyond our perception.
So,
but he wants us to understand as much as we possibly can. Perfect your intellect as much as you can. Gain as deep and profound of understanding of the world around you as you possibly can.
The world around us.
The world around us is his creation. It's the way, we'll see, it's also the way he communicates with us.
But you could like make an argument like there are Chachamim out there who really only study not the world around us and study these big ideas and halacha and all that stuff. And then there are people who are opposite them who don't study, these big ideas, only study.
Well, you're privileged to be exposed to both worlds. Each one of them is missing something. If you can synthesize between the two, study, each one will give you better insight into the other. Okay, excellent. So we'll stop here for today.